Yeah.
Test.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a very, very special celebration of Martin Luther King weekend, Martin Luther King Day. Happy MLK weekend, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Sitting next to me are two legends of Chicago house music.
Yes, we are.
Legends of house music, period. That was the humble Terry Hunter and Mr. Ron Trent.
Hey.
And I am Zarina Marani of 5 Magazine. I will be your host this evening. And for the next hour, they're going to be sharing stories, some insights. They have a lot of personal and musical history that many of you don't know about. So we're going to be talking about that for the next hour or more. And after that, they will be hitting the decks, doing a back-to-back set all night long. Well, scheduled till 11 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Yes.
But
We'll see.
we'll see. We'll see. Now, quick business, we are streaming on Mixcloud, Twitch, and YouTube, both on Terry Hunter's channels and Le Nocturne Live's channels. So make sure to tune in, share the channel, tell all your friends about it, join in on the chats. Black Widow is hosting. Tell them where you're from, share, and show some love. All right?
Show some love, everybody. Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's what we need. All right. All positivity. So,
Yes.
Better be.
all right. So let's get to the dirt. So Terry, let's talk about some current things first. We know you and your family were recently hit with COVID. So tell us how that was.
Yeah. So right around Thanksgiving or right before Thanksgiving, that bug hit us. And I remember doing my stream Thanksgiving night, and I was feeling perfectly fine and got a little something to eat before I went to bed. And then when I woke up the next day, couldn't taste, couldn't smell. And I was like, come on, no. So throughout the rest of the day, I started feeling worse and worse. And then the next day, I started having these crazy body aches, fatigue. And by the time Monday came around, I went to the doctor, myself, my wife, and we got tested. And we did the full influenza test to make sure that we didn't have the flu, because that was a possibility. And then when that came back negative, my doctor was like, yo, it's a 90% chance you have COVID. And 2 days later, we tested positive. And it was probably one of the worst 3 weeks of my life.
Oh wow. So you didn't have to go to the hospital, thank God.
No,
right?
thank God. We both could breathe fine. We didn't have any fluid or nothing like that on our lungs. But I just had this terrible body ache. I developed this crazy cough. And I mean, going down the stairs was an issue. You know, I was totally fatigued and the muscle aches to the point one day it was so bad I couldn't blink. Like my eyes were hurting that bad. So I would just sit so I wouldn't have to blink. So it was crazy. This stuff is real.
Yeah, I'm glad you're better now.
Oh man,
Absolutely.
thank you. It was a rough one.
On a light note, not that this is anything light, but I remember you couldn't taste anything, and you could
Nothing.
you didn't like that too much.
No, I did like it because you know what? That is the worst feeling in the world, that you trying to taste something. I mean, it was to the point I said, all right, this is gonna pass. I went in the refrigerator and we got some banana peppers. So I said, let me smell them. Couldn't smell it. Then I said, all right, the ultimate test, apple cider vinegar. I took nothing. And I was like, yeah, and that happened, that lingered on for us for about 3 weeks.
I'm so glad you're better. I'm so
Yes.
glad you came out, you and your family.
Absolutely.
And Ron, how have you been doing? What's been going on with you this past year, this crazy year?
Staying my ass at home.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, I did the thing for Boiler Room last year to, promote people staying at home. And pretty much that's what I've been doing, staying at home, muscling up on all my supplements, that kind of thing. Can you hear me? Muscling up on all my supplements and all my herbal training in the past just fell into place. But mainly, just really keeping on top of this thing. And this is real serious. I've lost quite a few people. Seriously. To be honest with you, I think it also took my grandmother out of here last year because she had Alzheimer's. But the symptoms that she had at the time when noticing how she she did pass, and the nurses were coming in, and at that time they hadn't really said anything that was out here in the public. I do believe that that's what happened. But then I lost friends because I used to live in New York, so I lost quite a few people. And man, it just it's every fucking day you waking up, you're seeing a new person. It just and then it just numbs you out, because you don't even. It's like you don't know how to react.
It was really bad with that. So first, I'm gonna segue into this. Like people, I respect everybody's belief. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But this COVID is real. It's very real. Wear your mask. Wear your gloves. Wash your hands. All of that. You hear it so much, and then you begin to think, oh, whatever. It's corny. It's not corny. And I'm telling you, for the people that have not had it, you don't want it. And some, depending on your body, you may not even develop a symptom. My son had it as well. He was symptomatic free. He just asymptomatic. No, nothing. He was perfectly fine. So that's the thing that scares me, is that some people may be asymptomatic to it and walking around, and it's just totally infecting everything and everyone around them. So it's serious. It's real.
And if anybody knows about it, it's us in an industry where we thrive on crowds and people. So as much as we all have COVID fatigue, we still have to, honor the guidelines until we can all safely go out and be in a party again.
Absolutely. Yes.
So on, let's talk about happier days, the
Yes.
past. I knew you two were UBQ Project, correct?
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Well, I
That's
have a
history.
magazine, so I had to know
mean,
that.
Wow.
No, I looked it up in Wikipedia. No, so let's go way back, okay?
Yeah.
And talk about how you two knew each other, how you two met. Give us some history.
Well, basically, Terry's older than me. So, but Terry was out on the scene like myself in the '80s, and I was an up and coming DJ. Terry was already kind of arrived, and I was a young, bustling little guy coming up trying to open up parties and that kind of thing, doing what I needed to do to get on the scene. Terry was because back in our time, high school parties were big.
Yes.
Because if you couldn't get into the music box or the power plant or wherever, these were like the intermediate things.
What high schools did you guys go to?
The greatest high school ever, might I add. Shout out to everybody. Hyde Park Career Academy.
And before that, Luther South for me, and then I went to Hyde Park. So we both became like the Hyde Park DJs, as a matter of fact, in my time and in his time. Ferris Thomas before us.
Yes.
Did Mike Williams go to Hyde Park?
I think Mike. No, I don't remember. It was somebody else. It was Ferris that went. Lil Jon went to Hyde Park. I was just with Lil Jon. Shout out to Lil Jon. Lil Jon went to Hyde Park as well.
So it was definitely survival of the fittest. You had to be, about this life, as they say, because it wasn't easy. It wasn't like you could just go and get your jams and go to an internet thing, get your music. You really had to study the music. You had to know what to get. You had to also be able to get the money to do it. You're talking about teenagers. You know what I mean? And also it was a lot of political, social kind of stuff going on.
Was it aside from the financial difficulty of getting into DJing? Was there just a lot of politics and people not wanting
max.
you?
Tell us. Back then, and it was also. This is Chicago. Chicago's a gangster city.
Absolutely.
And, there was different factions, different sides of the city, and different cultures that went along with that. And you had to kind of know how to deal with that. It was good training for the industry. Let's put it like that. Training that a lot of people don't have now, because everybody thinks you can just jump in the gang and do whatever or get a controller and you're a DJ or whatever the case may be. Well, I don't come, Terry and I don't come from that.
How was Terry? Because I just know Terry was such a tough guy back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
He still is.
No, we call it like it is. Terry.
Was he nice to you? Was he like welcoming you? Was he showing you the ropes, or was he?
So for the record, I was a very nice, humble guy. Still am. I never started anything. I just finished it. I never started anything. For the record, everybody that's looking. So
my brother Terry was definitely an enforcer, and he hung out with enforcers. And all of us had our, people that we hung out with. You understand, this wasn't this wasn't easy times.
No.
This is crack 80s. This was, people looking at us strange because we're wearing certain clothes, we're listening to certain kind of music. So then you had the thugs trying to like really, rob you. If you went out your house or look at you, oh, what's up, house? And then they would say shit like that, or you going to the bus stop. Frankie Knuckles kind of talks about it a little bit in his time, standing on the corner and, he mentions about the guy, standing up there with the rollers in his hair, Pimp Daddy, looking at him like, the fuck, but
Yeah.
it was that kind of energy. So it kind of carried into, being a teenager, trying to come up in this scene and trying to establish yourself as a producer or whatever you were trying to be, an artist, in a situation where it just wasn't really, it wasn't status quo at all. I mean, people like everybody's on this house bandwagon now. But back then, it was kind of almost a dirty name to a certain because it was associated with being gay. So
Really? I did not know that.
Oh yeah.
get to the max. I mean,
So, okay, so you're DJing high school parties. You kind of are teaching yourselves, teaching each other. You're getting records. How did you produce so young in your life? Well, to me, it was very young, but how did you even know to produce or to get equipment? Was there someone mentoring you? Was there just this?
I'll let Terry.
Well, yeah. I mean, so for us coming up back then, again, we was record shopping, so a lot of us had the same records. So in order for us not to sound like the next DJ, we had to do our own edits. Back then, we had cassettes, and the pause buttons used to be very accurate. So we used to do our pause edits on a lot of the songs. So if we did play the same song, it would be different from if another DJ played that. And then from that, you had to really, that's what took you to the next level. And for me, I was looking at my heroes at that time was Ron, of course, Frankie, and looking at the Hot Mix 5 and all of these records. And I'm like, I don't want to just be local. So I want to find out what's going to take us to the next level to get outside of Chicago. And producing was just that. And so shout out to my man, Kenny Jordan. I remember him calling me, telling me he bought a Poly 800 keyboard and a 909, and I went over there and don't know how to play keys or nothing. I'm just going by ear like, hey, MIDI the keyboard up to the drum machine and figured out these notes went with this note and just tapping stuff. Hey, that sound good. Let's record it. So that's really how I got into doing production.
How old were you at the time?
Ooh.
Making music?
So Madness came out in 1990. That was my first record. So probably I was playing that record when I was like 18.
So, good segue. A lot of people don't know that Armando, rest in peace, the late great
Yes.
Armando, put out both of your records at the same time in 1990. Madness, you said, on
Yes.
Musique.
Yes, Madness was
And
on Musique.
On Warehouse Records, of course, Altered States, Ron Trent. How did that happen? Well, Ron, tell us, how did you start making music?
Well, I mean, how can I say? My father was I always tell the story. My father was a what you call a vice president of a record pool here. It was called Naja. And was down on, what is that street? Van Buren. And so I grew up around the record business to a certain degree. And then by the time my father passed in 82, I had started actually kind of playing records myself. I used to go to kiddie discos and all this kind of shit. My father used to play at the Sheba Disco, by the way, too.
Legendary.
Yeah. And with Donald St. James, rest in peace, he just passed not too long ago, who was the president of Naja. But I grew up around records and 12 inches and that kind of thing. But I was more interested in being a musician, in the 70s and the 80s. I played drums. I played percussion and drums. My father was a percussionist. And so that was my interest. I wanted to be a musician. So when I got involved in actually mixing, it made sense because it was about matching the beats together and that kind of thing. That's what got me really into it. And, I just always had an affinity for music because I used to play records and play to those records. And that's kind of how I got started. So then I got introduced to the idea of actually being able to be a one-man band with having, a drum machine, a keyboard kind of thing. And it was going along with the culture because, house music was developing this kind of thing. Once again, I have to say this, it wasn't like, oh yeah, house music. It wasn't like that. This was underground. This is just underground.
Were you even calling it house by at that early point?
Yeah.
Just like, okay.
Yeah, by that time. But I mean, when it first, before that, I mean, people were relating house to the warehouse. There was a short name for the warehouse. But for us coming up as teenagers, it was being introduced as house music. Ron Hardy was playing, Frankie was playing, and the different high school sock hops were going on, which is what they called it.
Absolutely.
Mendel High School. It was
Leo, Cathedral.
Yep.
Who else? Kenwood, Whitney Young.
That's right.
These are all high schools in Chicago for people that's tuning in.
What's the high school on 95th Street too?
Oh, Academy of Our Lady.
There you go.
Yes.
So this was our circuit. This was our new underground circuit for our generation. First generation being the likes of Mr. Robert Williams and Frankie Knuckles, and so on and so forth, and Andre Hatchett, which is before us, and
Big up Andre.
and Ferris Thomas, and
Yes.
and even our dear brother. I just can't think of his name right now. It's gonna.
Gene Hunt for sure.
Yeah, Gene came in our generation.
Yep. Gene was kind of like and that's another thing that people don't know. Gene was out there at the same time, but Gene kind of was pulling me up when we was in high schools because Gene got on a little earlier than me and was doing the High Park Record Ball Club, South Shore Country Club as well. And he was kind of getting on. And Gene was pulling me up. It was this funny story. He didn't like to drive, and I knew how to drive. So the only way he would get to his parties, I would have to take the bus to his house, go get his mama car, and drive him to his parties. So shout out to my brother Gene Hunt. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And okay, so how did you two start working together? How did that happen?
I'm gonna let him take that because
No,
I
I'm gonna let you
remember, but I don't. You know what? I was sitting there today driving here, and I was trying to figure out what was the first time me and Ron met, and I really don't remember that. And it had to be through Luther South.
That's right.
In Hyde Park.
That's right.
And we just went on from our taste of music and me kind of already
and
doing
it
my
was
thing.
a crew of us too. I mean, we got
Yes.
our brother No ID.
Absolutely.
Deion Wilson.
Deion Wilson,
Used to be my
absolutely.
DJ partner in high school. I mean, Luther South was kind of an interesting place. It was,
Yes, especially for me.
I know. But Luther South was like this kind of like private school kind of thing. And it's interesting because, Common went there, Derek Dudley, and Deion Wilson, and these were my, Deion Wilson was my DJ buddy. Because he was like one of the only people out of my man, except for Jimmy Knowles, who rest in
And
peace.
George too, right?
Huh?
George too.
George Perry?
Yes.
No, George Perry went to, if I'm not mistaken, De La Salle.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
But basically, like, Deion and I were like the only guys outside of my man James Knowles that were really like house music DJs at Luther South. So we had a little tight-knit thing going on. Of course, later, Deion went on and, he's a Grammy Award-winning producer of hip-hop.
Yes.
But, him and Twilight Tone lived in Pill Hill and that kind of thing. And they were linked up because that's where Deion used to live, too. But the bottom line is that it was like three of us that were actually house music DJs there.
Yes.
And what my man Steve Hobbs.
Steve Hobbs as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big
And
shout
Steve
to
was
Steve,
actually
yeah.
making music the same time that Deion was. But for us, I mean, it was a really small knit community. People think it was just like a whole bunch of people doing. No, it wasn't a lot of us doing this. And
Not
you
at
had
all.
to kind of know who was doing what and how to do it and it was a lot of social political stuff that we had.
Yes.
To
And
navigate.
especially, it's coming to me now because Luther South, which is really weird. I was always up there. I had a girlfriend that went to Luther South, and that was the first time by me hanging out, going up there. That's what we used to do. We used to go to schools and flirt with girls, and when they come out of class and stuff. And so I used to go up there to see my girlfriend and noticed my now wife. So
Oh, what a great story.
yeah, and so that's why I was hanging out a lot at Luther South. That's how I met Deion, No ID, and the rest of the guys. Because I was up there every day. Went up to their prom, but saw my wife there, and I said then in high school I'm gonna marry her. And
So what happened to your other girlfriend?
Stuff happens.
Right.
But I mean, Luther South was the kind of, what I was trying to say is Luther South was a really kind of corny I mean, like our fucking homecoming with motherfuckers had bands and shit, like you was seeing 80s teenage movies.
Yes.
That's what was going on in my high school. You know what I mean?
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was like that. It was like, y'all have a band here?
But you didn't DJ any of those parties there?
No, there was no DJ. It was just a fucking band. I was like, oh my God.
But you guys must have been the coolest guys in your school if you were DJs, I'm imagining.
Yes.
Right? I mean, over the
we,
jocks?
we weren't really, we were kind of like, well, at least at Luther South, we were like outsiders a little bit. You know what I mean? Because it was that level of people. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, they still had bands. You know, like they was doing a cotillion, some shit. I don't, but I was like, man, I chose the wrong high school. But
Hyde Park was the total opposite. Though. Parties galore, homecoming, winter dance, spring dance, end of school dance. Hyde Park was totally different.
But you guys were probably visionaries by then. I mean, you were making in high school. You weren't making music yet, correct? It was probably
no,
a
it was
little
making
few
high
years.
school. I was making,
You were.
Yeah.
Both, yeah. Both.
So did you have any idea the magnitude or what was going to happen to your careers, or was it just playing around at the time? Did you have any idea
This
that
was
you'd be
love and passion, and
Say it again.
it truly was. We really loved this thing, so we just kept at it. And I mean, it's not like my family was totally for it either. They were like, DJ, dude, what are you talking about? Like, what radio? What do you? No, You're gonna go to law school like your father, And so, I mean, really, I had to almost be not in secret doing what I was doing, but I had to really kind of like stand up to my family, which now, of course, they're like, oh, yeah, But before it was like, what the? He's not gonna be anything. Oh my God!
Listen, let's talk about to go back a little bit. Me and Ron. So Ron, if y'all remember, Alta States was setting Chicago on fire, and then I made this track and I was playing it, and Armando was like, "Man, because we were all close. Let me put the record out." And we was talking about this the other day, and I remember I said, "Ron, Armando want to put our records out, man." And I just remember going over to Ron's house and speaking to his mother about us doing a record deal,
Real talk.
letting her know that Armando was a good guy and he wasn't going to screw us around.
wow.
And needless to say, we got screwed around.
We got screwed. But I mean,
Well, tell everybody, what do you mean by that?
So we trusted in Armando, and years later, I found out that we were all teenagers. We were kids. He didn't know the business. He was putting out records just to, put out records. He was a producer, and his name started being very known around the world. But the distributors at that time was Gherkin, and I just remember seeing the record, and I'm like, I don't know anything about publishing. Neither did Ron at the time.
Which record specifically are we talking about?
Madness.
Madness. Okay.
And
on music
even with
and Altered States.
And Altered States.
Okay.
And I'm like, who is Miss Twilly Music? ASCAP. What is ASCAP? And all I knew was whoever Miss Twilly is didn't have shit to do with this record. So why is your name on this record? So of course we're learning, and my record got licensed to. That was a record actually that got me to travel overseas. So I got a booking from that record, and then really when I went to London, they showed me the copy of the record that it had been licensed, and I'm like, well, who gave you the permission to do that? So it was just a lot of things that I know Armando didn't know, but Brett knew. Wilcox was the owner and distributor of Gherkin Records, and we got screwed.
yeah, across the board. I mean, my shit went bananas.
Absolutely.
I literally just had to sue the company that had control, supposedly, of my record, and I didn't discover that it had gone out of control until it was on Grand Theft Auto, and that's when Liberty Cities, and then that's when and one of my younger brothers tapped my. He was like, "Hey man, your record's on."
Altered States is on Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah. I know it's a big deal. My man, Moody Man, shout out to my brother that he's got.
And nobody
Right.
came your way?
But yeah, mine was like one of the first.
And you couldn't, can you?
I'm
recoup
be
some-
straight now. But what happened is when I had kind of, to be honest with you, because I had moved on, and I was always being defined by the Altered States, and I was just like, you know what,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna leave this shit alone, and I'm gonna keep it moving. But when I found out the record had been licensed like 50 times to all these different companies, Sony, I mean, it had just been hoard out, if you will. And then the last being the Grand Theft Auto, I was like, man, fuck this. Right. So then I had to hire a lawyer in that territory, in the Netherlands, as a matter of fact. And then when I finally got the paperwork, this is what bugged me out. I saw that my name had been forged.
Ooh.
Oh no.
So this is, kind of the level of stuff. I mean, but this is what puts some muscle on me too, because that kind of level of problematic situation made me hyper vigilant about my music and about taking care of business. This is what we didn't have back in that time, because we were just guys just doing music and trying to get ourselves out there, and we wanted to express ourselves. We wanted to be an artist, but we didn't know the business. And
well, it seems like it's a rite of passage that a lot of producers it seems that we're writing about it in the magazine every time about lawsuits here and there, but I guess it's something that you have to learn, and I guess it's a blessing because look how famous you two are now.
Yeah, but the part about it, even with house music, I'm glad you said that. What's amazing to me is that producers and artists are still going through it today. How is that so? How is people getting screwed left and right, don't really know what they're signing today? So it's the music business, people. It's the music business. You have to take care of your business. And we've been screwed so much that obviously we learned from it, but if I had a second go at it, things would be a whole lot different.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to pay your debt somehow, somewhere. There's going to be some kind of sacrifice that happens. I mean, it's just this is business, you know what I mean? But the other flip side of that is that you also have people that come into this business, and some things are handed to them, and they don't appreciate what's handed to them. And, they go out here, and then they get this, there's an ego that's developed. And in that ego being developed, they have a tendency to think that they are deserving of certain things that they haven't even worked for yet. You know what I mean? I mean, literally, between the two of us, we have literally fought, tooth and nail to be where we are. It's not like somebody, hey, here, buddy, some records. Here's some people for you. Go play. They're waiting for you. They love you. It wasn't no shit like that. We literally had to build and fall and get up and fall and get up. And this is what created character, but a lot of people don't have that. So what happens is they have a tendency when they get a little fame, first of all, they don't even know how they got there. They have a tendency to be not only arrogant, but also to, how can I say, be disrespect the history, if you will, or maybe even some of the people that helped them out. And I'll just leave it like that. And I can tell you a few stories. But, it wasn't like that for me. I mean, I literally, Terry and my other brothers, they had to put me on to a certain degree. They let me open up parties and did certain things. There was also, gratitude. Gratitude is very important. When you have somebody doing something for you, looking out. One of the other set of people that I got to mention is Hula and Fingers from Clubhouse Records.
Absolutely.
They, Hula was one of the first people to put the MP60 in front of me. You know what I mean? And it wasn't like, it was literally like, we're going out of town. And the Hula and Fingers were producing Jazzy Jeff and the French Prince, Cool Mo D, High Five, because they were in-house producers for Jive Records. And they were like, well, look, Ron, we're taking you under the wing. Hey, man, look, here's the MPC. Here's the keyboard. He came and dropped it off my house. This is what it does. Boop, 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 boop. We're going to be gone for 2 weeks. Figure it out. And by the time he came back, I had, I had created all this stuff, whatever the case may be, but I had, but that was my dedication to what was going on. But that level of mentorship, you know what I mean? And
absolutely.
That did something for me. And I tried to do that for a few other people too. Just like, hey man, or just give them some insight on things. But once again, I think sometimes when people are handed things, they don't appreciate it.
Yeah. And I got to give a shout out too, from what Ron was saying, is I came up making tracks after I did my first track with him. The next stuff that I did was with Eleanor, Rick Lenore, Larry Thompson,
Yeah, we got to get them brothers.
Gary Wallace, Georgie Porges was involved in that. And I put out quite a few records with them, and then moved on and was doing stuff with Vibe Music, which was Georgie, Maurice Joshua, myself. And I got to big up Maurice Joshua because he was the one that really kind of put me on my first major label remixes. Like a lot of those remixes, the Michael Jacksons, the Mary J. Bliges, I could just go on, was because Maurice was coming off of ID Records and it was on his own and was still getting that work and is putting me on, and that really lifted my profile as well with DJing in Europe. So shout out to Maurice.
Maurice, yeah, and there was also, well, I'm gonna go ahead and give a shout out to my brother Shay Damier too.
Absolutely.
Because when we got together, we also did some dope things or whatever, and he was like a big brother to me. But we had similar, we were working off of a similar wavelength. So when we got together, it was like immediate. But he was one of the first guys. He was like, look, I got a studio in Detroit, which happened to be, Inner City's studio. Kevin Saunderson, also shout out to him. And he's like, look, I got the studio. Let's go and do some recording. And, it was my first time working in a big facility, $1 million facility like that on a regular basis. And all these things trained me. You know what I mean? And I'm grateful for these things, and these people that came before me, and that's what it was about. A lot of this. I mean, Frankie and Ronnie set the pace, and then everything else for us was just about that, following the line with, that ethos.
Well, do you find that it's almost too easy now? I know, you're talking about the grind now, but because it's so easy, it's almost like, what can you do? And is there any hope for making music right now? How many tracks do they say they make? The Track Source put out a day, or Beatport?
Right. The thing of it is, right, it's more about, I don't fault, and we was having this conversation again, I don't fault technology. You know what I mean? I think that a lot of people get caught up with it and put out a lot of music that's more so, how can I say, what's the word? I don't want to call it garbage, but lifeless, maybe underproduced records. And so I just think it goes back to even the DJing part. If a lot of people still had to buy records right now today, they wouldn't be DJs because they'll be so left behind. And again, that is no disrespect to the technology and where we at right now, but I couldn't give you 200 records and you would go DJing. You would have to go find them 200 records, and most of the time, those records that we got was only a limited amount of copies, and you had it, and that was it. So right now, because most people, and no disrespect for whoever started doing it, but what we explain in here is our history and how the game is not being treated fairly, in my opinion, is that because somebody gave you a hard drive full of music, now you're a DJ. Stop. No. And the other key word of is, we talked about this as well, is everybody is in the mindset of put me on. We never asked to be put on. We worked. We was talking about that. I remember we used to hang posters. Before we hung the posters, we had to wire the posters, go out in below zero weather in the wintertime in Chicago and hang posters on every major intersection
flyers
in Chicago.
In the winter.
Oh my God. And we used to have what we call poster wars. So if somebody was throwing a party on your night, you've been and hung all these posters everywhere, and they come behind you and snatch your posters down and hang there. So it was just, we paid dues. And what I'm saying, there is still a code that you have to follow to pay your dues today. Because the technology is simple, it doesn't mean you don't have to put in the work, period. So that's the gripe that we're talking about and what we want to encourage people that are looking and listening, and everybody's saying that they're a new DJ and you're 65. What profession can you go into starting at 65 and be top at it? Like, no, it's a glorified hobby. And I've had this situation to where I had to explain it. I made a conversation when we did the DJ day at the Shrine, and we talked to a few people, and a lot of people didn't really understand what I was saying and took what I said wrong. And what I'm saying is, it's put in the work basically. Like you, because you got a hard drive of a terabyte worth of music, you're not on. Ask how can you help? Throw your own parties. It's easy now. You can go on social media, promote it. But the word "put me on," oh, you got the chosen few. Y'all ain't putting nobody on. This our event. We put on who we want to put on. We are not. If you were doing your thing and can bring a crowd in, you'll get noticed. You'll get hired. But the word "put me on."
Exactly, and that's you just said it. I mean, if nobody's doing or putting you on, then you create your own culture, create your own thing. That's how this industry was established. That's how this culture was established. We talk about Dave Mancuso. When nobody doing what he was doing, he decided he wanted to do something. He had a vision, and he created it. Right? Out of that comes Frankie Knuckles, comes Nicky Ciano, Larry Levan, and all these other people. Because somebody had the vision and somebody had the upspot, if you will, to go and say, you know what? Fuck it, I'm going to create this situation. You know? And I think a lot of people are doing themselves a disservice, actually, by not going through the paces of training and going through this process of, sacrifice and receive, because they're just, if you don't know how you got there, how you gonna get there again if you fall down?
Agreed. What I love too is I don't know about the whole "put me on" thing. When are you gonna write about me? But I love self-starters. Self-starters.
Bing.
We're so bitter. No, I'm just.
No, it's just the truth.
It's like, oh no, but probably with a silver room or your parties, they ask for the same thing. Knock knock, but nothing like someone who DIY. Self-starters. I love self-starters. Right. Do your own parties. Write your own magazine, Write about yourself, And
if it was a lot more of that, this industry, this situation
thriving.
would be different. We would have a bustling industry. But if you got a whole bunch of people standing with their fucking hand out all the time and expecting you to just give me, but no give. No, you can't do anything like that in life.
Absolutely.
Period.
So let's fast forward now to 2020, the strange times of 2020. Yes. 2021, anybody can be a self-starter now, right? You just have to stream your own DJ set. So let's just talk about a couple of things here that, well, first of all, have you guys been staying busy? I know you've been staying busy with streaming, Terry, and music, of course. Number one on TrackSource right now. Is it still number one?
Yeah, it kind of just fell off. I think maybe a few days ago, but Avant, Can We Fall in Love? Shout to Avant. Number one record overall, so appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Awesome, staying busy. And, we hosted New Year's Eve together, so.
Yes.
But Ron, tell us what's been going on.
Like I said, staying at home, studio rat. Funny enough, because I have been traveling a lot, this is the most time it's funny. It's the most time I stayed at home since I was a teenager.
Same.
And it was a really weird realization. I was like, shit, I haven't, this is weird. But what it did is, I'd also had been craving being able to stay and do more in the studio with myself. I had bought guitars and wasn't, I would look at them, So now last year, I just started playing my guitars, and I've been doing a lot of production with guitar and that kind of thing. So it's increased my musicianship, but I've also been doing a lot of remixes. That are stuff that's coming out this year that I can't talk about. Well, one of them I can talk about is the Saint Germain remix that's coming out.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic.
And another super group that's later on in the year. I just can't
give us
mention.
a hint.
I can't even know. But
they're a super group.
Yeah, a super group. And, just a lot more productions. I'm working on my album and this kind of thing, which I wanted to do. I had started it when I was on the road. Then I got a chance to actually sit and start really putting time and energy into it. The album is Warm, which is like my group. Because I wanted to, going back to my roots, I wanted to have a band, like I said. So that's my mentality. And I wanted to, do more performance stuff, not to just be corny, like, the DJ that just wants to do some live performance and no, I literally, I come from a musician, background. My father played percussion from the time that he was a child to college. He went to UMass, and there was a whole Pan-African scene there. And so they had some very interesting.
So that's where that sound come from.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna mention this because it's very important, so you can kind of understand me a bit. Because everybody was calling me Mr. Black Power and Black Panther before all this shit that's been out here. Is I come from a from a Pan-Africanist home, not just because I got on fucking gloves, and don't say stupid shit. But but I come from that mentality, and it's African worldview is what it is. And so there was a lot of consciousness and black consciousness going on, and it was out of that in particular UMass. There was a thing called Africa House that was developed for the African American students there, coming out of the 60s into the 70s. Which kind of we need to talk about this. Anyways, Martin Luther King's birthday. Shit, you got to talk about this. So in that, they developed a curriculum that was based around Afro consciousness. So they had interesting professors. Kwame Ture, which is Stoli Carmichael, was one of the professors. Max Roach was one of the professors. What is I can't think of the
dropping knowledge right now, y'all.
Yeah, I can't think of the lady's name, but one of my mentors was actually the person that put all that together. Ackland Lynch, as a big time professor. He's actually one of the people. He was actually Kihel Zabar's teacher as well. But he was the one that helped get African American studies in the curriculum for all colleges today. Coming out of that, my mother and father, these were their colleagues, their contemporaries. My father played drums with Max Roach and that kind of thing. So I come out of this kind of like consciousness, black jazz was also part of the soundtrack at that time. I come out of that. So for me, get more into it's funny. Mackay, you guys familiar with Mackay? He's a famous jazz drummer now. He's actually from up my way too.
From Chicago?
From Chicago. Do you guys know Gingy Brown?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Ginger Brown's father is Marion Brown, who's also from up that way as well. There was just Bill Cosby. I know he's the dirty name, but he was part of Black intelligentsia at that time, and he went to UMass as well. But there was just a lot of stuff that was going on up there in Massachusetts. And I was born in Massachusetts. Yeah. Born in Massachusetts. I was raised here because my father's from here. But I come out of a musician, conscious, so that's what I've been more concentrating on myself, along with my own spiritual development, because I became Babalao 3 years ago, which is a priest in Yoruba culture 3 years ago. And that's a lot of stuff. I've been studying for 23 years.
Wow.
So
we had kind of talked about that just briefly a long time ago, but can you? So a babalao is a
basically a babalao is it is a high priest in the Yoruba culture. It's the highest degree that you can get. On that level, of course, there's different other degrees, but basically it's a study of ancestors, veneration of ancestors. It is also recognizing the cosmic forces that keep us moving. And more or less, it's actually an understanding of your own destiny, what you came here to do in life,
So can you give us some insight on what is happening with the world?
I really could, but I mean, I can't, because there's
we wouldn't play any music then.
Yeah, no, it's.
How do you both feel? I mean, coming from the source, especially just what happened last week. How is that affecting your music, your mind state, your?
To me, it's just the same. I was telling people about this shit in the 90s. This stuff that's happening now, of course, I ran into also a lot of, I would have a lot of political conversations because of what people thought about me or whatever. And they would say, oh, things have changed. And especially when Obama got in office. And I said, well, what's going to happen when Obama gets in office is that you're going to really see what America's about. And that's exactly what happened. And I would try to feed people information to say, hey, man, this is, you don't understand what you're dealing with. This is an old thing that's playing itself out. So those that have had their eyes closed can now really just see it right on live television, what's going on.
And it ain't done.
No, it's unfortunately not. I mean, but we can do our part to, change these things, but we have to educate ourselves. And people don't want to educate themselves. They're too lazy.
Are you remaining? Well, tell us. What would you suggest? How do people educate themselves who probably are still blind to the racism and also, I mean, your music and
pick up a book.
That's
That's
pick up a book. Not an
Instagram
meme.
Pick up a book. Do some more studying. Stop working off a surface philosophy with everything. This is what people do. Oh yeah, okay, go internet, blah blah blah. Yeah, okay. Look, you're not gonna find everything on the internet. First off, second off, I mean, come on, you have to apply experience to these things. Certain people haven't experienced racism at all. They don't know what it's about, And I think it's been somewhat of a not only just a wake-up call, but it's like, a dramatization for them to see it on TV. Oh, my God. They're like, really? Yeah, fucking really. You got to remember, the Civil Rights Bill was signed in, 1965 or whatever the case may be? Martin Luther King, which means I was really born, in our generation, we're like the first born free African Americans. And what I mean by that, and I don't mean because slavery stopped back then, supposedly. That means that it was against the law to fucking knock me over my head of being a black man or my mama or whatever the case may be.
Absolutely.
And get away with it. There's a law. That's what that means. So we were really actually the first generation of free African Americans without that bullshit on us. So when you think about it like that, which 40-something years, 50 years ago, it's around the corner. You know what I mean? So we're really just kind of dealing with the residue of all that type of bullshit that went on before. Jim Crow and paper bag, he's too dark and shit like that. The fuck is that? But this is what this country and a lot of other countries have been, standing on for years. And any time that I've gone overseas, I don't feel threatened or anything like that because I know who I am. And I can see myself in them, actually, because I know history. And they're like, oh, yeah, I can see the soul in these people, because I understand myself. So I've never felt inferior, like, oh, okay, I can't, which if you want to have a deeper conversation, because we can really talk about music and how some people change their musical style when they go play overseas.
Oh, absolutely.
If you really want to get into it, soulful as hell here, get over there and play like, oh yeah, and
wait, let's go. So they play soulful in Chicago, and then they play.
But not just in Chicago, in the States, like
in the States, period.
But in Europe, they changed to like
hell yeah,
something that's not them, something where they think they have to play to fit in. And the problem with that is that no, they're hiring you to play how you play here. That's why you got booked in the first place. But then when you go over there, you feel that you have to turn into what you think that they would want, and they don't want that. That's the thing that confuses me, is that you're making the biggest mistake in the world, and they might see a little success for the first whatever, but it fades away, and they run back to try
put
to
that shit on the clock.
You know what I mean?
Guaranteed.
And they're running around, and you can see it in their music now. A lot of these big name guys are playing house music again. And what I mean by that is, when we was coming up, we didn't come with the term soulful house. It was house or techno. And so even when we were playing techno, it was dope. It's not the techno that you hear now. Stuff that was coming out of Detroit. So I just feel like they're trying to run back, and no, partner, no sir.
No, I mean, and I'm gonna be honest with you, it makes our work harder, because I'm gonna be honest with you and just call it like it is. I got friends around the world, and they'll chime in on this shit. I mean, for a minute, I was really upset of having Chicago behind my name, and I'm gonna be honest. And the reason being is that I kept running into having to redefine what this city was about, and the city wasn't defining me when it was going and representing me before. If you know what I mean, like the people that had gone in certain places and they, defined this was Chicago house is, I was finding that I was having to redirect the energy, right? So then I'm acting as this big ambassador for a city that's not necessarily standing up for its own culture to a certain degree. It's assimilating to whatever everybody else is doing, and that's not what this shit is about. That's why I had a big problem with Not a big problem, but it hurt my heart when Frankie passed.
Absolutely.
Because it was like, are they going to redefine this shit now? You know, because
Yes.
you know what I mean? It's just, you know, you got Ronnie and Frankie are gone now. Larry Levan's gone. David Mancruso, well, he hung on for many years. One of the only guys that's really around that can just set the record straight is Nicky Siano.
Yep.
But we have you guys now.
Oh yeah.
Doing our best to keep the,
Doing our
You
best.
keeping the culture alive, yeah. So, what do you think is going to happen to in-person events in 2021, 2022? I know, Terry, you're part of the million. Let me say it correctly so it's not dirty. The Million Mile Club.
Yes. Yes.
Not
yes.
okay. The million.
Yes. I'm a million miler. Yes.
Are you a
Mile High Club.
the Mile High
No,
Club?
you
That's
thought
what I was. I don't want to say.
Right.
And Ron, I know you travel crazy too. I know you guys are probably at home, you know, driving your family crazy because you're always home. You're so used to traveling, and now you guys are
30 years,
30 years of traveling.
Absolutely.
What's gonna happen to the traveling DJ?
Um,
Will there be
I
resources?
feel like everything as we know. Me and Ron had this conversation. Me and Mo has had this conversation, and of course, all of my chosen few brothers, because we have a major event that we put on that's been directly affected by this. And I know Ron can get into it a little deeper, but I feel like at some point we will get back to in-person events, but I don't think it's going to happen this year. And I think when we do get back to it, it will be 100% different. It will not be the same. I think this streaming situation, we're going to keep doing that. You're going to keep seeing that. I think more clubs are going to outfit their clubs with streaming capabilities like we doing now. Shout out to Le Nocturne. That's why we're here.
Yes.
Like, they're ahead of the curve. You know what I mean? And so I just feel like we will get back to it. But all of the people that we kind of mentioned before, the gatekeepers, if you will, that was running things from the clubs to the agencies to the record labels, is done. It's over. It's a new regime about to come around. And so that's how I feel. It's going
You
to
think
happen.
the old guard, you mean, will retire because they can't sustain themselves economically, and that's why a new
I think
of
both.
people?
They're going to be retired. They're going to be forced out, and they're not going to be able to keep up with the same bullshit that they was doing before and try to enter after. Like, you know, no one can tell me anything right now about, and that's, I'm jumping all over the place because my thoughts are fighting each other to come out right now. But that's the reason what we were saying earlier about DJs and put me on and put me on. Like, I figured it out years ago. Like, we are definitely musicians and DJs, but I'm also a professional plane seat filler because we spend more time sometimes on the plane than we actually do at the gigs. So when you encounter a 8-9 hour flight to England or Italy or Europe, and then it's a 6-7 hour time difference, and then you go sleep, and then you go play the gig for 2, 3, 4 hours, and then you turn around, you either come home or you're going to the next country. A lot of these people ain't cut out for that. It's not glorified. It's not, oh my God, oh, this, like, airplane delayed. Oh, now you only got a connection. You get on the flight, you go to your place. Oh, you done missed your connection. Now you might miss your gig. Like, it's so much stuff to what we do. People just want to have that name recognition, and we've been over that for years.
To be
you know.
Facebook famous.
Facebook, Instagram famous. Absolutely.
And it's a damn shame.
And Twitch famous.
It's a damn shame. I mean, I can ride this horse
Man.
for the next 5-6 hours, but it's really disturbing to see some of the things, to know some of the things that people have done. Well, let's put it like this: it's bad for business. A lot of the shit and the shenanigans that people have been doing to, you know, destroy some of the inroads that have already been made. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Just looking at you. Okay. It's like they've come along because they think of themselves, you know, just thinking like, okay, I can, you know, I could do that. I can go and they go and people paying their own plane tickets and going playing for bar tabs and all the rest of it, just to get out there and say they're representing something that they haven't even trained to do.
Absolutely.
So then it makes it harder for the guys that really know what they're doing or have been out there to come in and show our culture to other cultures because they have a misrepresentation of it. And that's, that was what we were encountering a lot. Because I kind of, be honest with you, I kind of decided maybe I was going to retire from doing the traveling thing, because I was like, man, I don't, dude, this is bullshit. Like,
Absolutely.
I can't really see myself doing this for the rest of my life, going out and fighting my own people to try and represent my own culture on a regular basis, and then so I was like, maybe I should just stay in the studio and do what I do, on that level, and use the sonics to change things in a different way.
Of course.
But it's a lot of wear and tear, a lot. Especially in the times when we started, it wasn't glorified, it wasn't, champagne and shit flowing and
Right.
First class,
Middle seats.
it was more like this for 6-7 hours.
Ooh.
Then having to go to immigration and explain yourself.
With your records,
Wait a
right?
minute, listen, and especially back then,
Yeah.
with your records that we always had to pay extra for, and God forbid if we had a connection, you're praying that your records made that connection, because I can't
you
tell
would
you.
check your records in?
Oh, you couldn't carry them on the plane. We, back
no,
then
so
in the
the-
90s, we
oh,
had record cases, so we were going with. Sometimes I used to carry 4, and I'm paying hundreds of dollars for the extra weight. And then if I'm going playing a gig in Naples, Italy, I'm flying from Chicago to Rome and then Rome to Naples, and you're praying that your records come through. So you're sitting at baggage claim like, Lord, please, 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 Lord, come on. And it's been times where my record, I did a tour, and this is we was doing tours for a month. I went to Paris, shout out to France, landed there, records wasn't there. I had to go to a record shop, buy enough records for me to get through the night, play with some of the other DJs' records that was there, then left France, went to London. My records then got to France while I was in London. Left London, went to Switzerland. Records was in London. It followed me the whole trip. So that's the thing that we talk about. You guys don't understand the work and the stress that was put into this.
Facts.
So
I'll give you an example. I was set up to, I would do these parties with Need the Soul, my man Alex.
yes.
And we set it up because I said I wanted to start doing these like longer sets like I would do in Japan, but in London. So I would do these 8 and 9 hour sets. And I never forget, this is a true story. I get to London and my shit doesn't get to London.
Oh yeah.
So I had to spend all the time that I was going to rest having my boys send me shit through the internet enough so that I could play this 9-hour set. I got through it. You know what I'm saying? But I was sitting there, no, man, send me that. God, I need that shit. No, and sitting on the internet, my eyes this big, I'm tired, it's jet lag, but literally, those kind of scenarios, or playing a tour in, depending on who set up the tour for you, it might not be that great.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? You could be playing some shit that's the size of a kitchen somewhere, it looks good on paper.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You get there and the people, you don't even know if they know who the hell you are. But you got to prove yourself at that
gotta
point.
prove
You're
yourself.
standing there looking at you and shit. I mean, you have to, I've gone through these things, and a lot of these guys nowadays, they have it easy. They have it
Absolutely.
easy. They have the internet. They can create avatars and shit.
But you might be the last DJs to actually enjoy travel. Oh, side note, shout out to everybody in the chats.
Shout out to everybody, all my Sanitize Your Soul family, music
you.
and power family, Lay Nocturne family. Love y'all.
Yeah, is there Black Widow, you hanging in there?
Black Widow.
Mono's best. Oh, who didn't turn off their phone? Oh, that's the doorbell.
That's the doorbell. We have food coming.
But you ordered food. But it's true. You guys might be the last. Knock on wood that you're not the last traveling DJs, but you have stories to tell, and you could talk about it now, and it is horrible. But man, what if they're just going to be hiring local DJs now that COVID is happening? I can't even imagine.
Well, my thing is that we needed to, a while back, and I used to talk to my agent about this, my man Kamadi, It's like, and my man Joe Clisell, that we needed to concentrate on the states. We need to build up our own, because that was my thing. It was like, look, we're going out and tilling everybody else's soil. Their garden is growing great. Then we come back home, our garden is not serviced at all, and we needed to build things up more at home base. And I think it's, this is forcing us to do that, at this point in time. It's making us have to, really look within, look at home, look at what's going on around you, and that's where the power is going to lie.
Yep.
I think we'll be fine because we know how to hustle.
That's the difference.
That's the point.
And we have such a history behind us. I think, honestly, we're going to come out more on top. And again, we know how to hustle. We know how to make records. We know how to play records. We know how to market. We know how to promote. Shout out to Chosen Few. Shout out to Mo Knows Best. Shout out to Ron Trent. Music and power. And that's what it is. So I think we're going to be, there's a lot of new DJs, and we're hoping for a lot of new DJs to come in. But, it has to be, the culture is fresh and young to me around the world. You hear that nonsense in Chicago. I've never not once heard a person in Europe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we need new DJs to come in. That's only an American thing, because it's very young and vibrant in South Africa.
Big time.
Italy, Japan. So the stuff that we say here is just U.S. based. And so, I don't know. They have these conversations all the time on Facebook. We so sick or tired of them regurgitating it. And, we need more young people in the house. Well, get out past the south side of Chicago. Some people ain't went past Roosevelt. And you talking about you need to come on with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously something that we're missing here when we say that, and then it's not anything happening. And this is the conversations, once again, I used to have about, our own city. We look at some of the violence that's been going on in this city, and you say, well, shit, what the hell? Well, the music has been perpetuating this shit. This is a music city. When we were coming up, it was gang banging,
Absolutely.
But some of them gang bangers was at the party.
Yes.
And they also knew that, the pretty girls were at the house music parties, the kind of thing, and it changed their attitude. It had them readjust themselves.
They sure did.
But a lot of our young brothers and sisters, they don't know about this culture. They're starting to get a little bit, because of I want to say it's interesting because it's come back to us through South Africa.
Yes.
Right? So they're kind of getting into it or whatever the case may be. And, I have my faith in that generation, like my daughter's age and my son's age. But what they don't have is they don't have the experience. They don't have the experience of the underground culture or going inside a place and what it feels like to have those goosebumps and to hear something for the very first time and the sound system and being a little scared and all this.
Absolutely.
It plays a role. It's an experience, and this is an experience that I think that, carried us to be who we are today.
Absolutely.
And I think, and you're right. And unfortunately, maybe who knows if we'll ever get to walk into a warehouse again and get those goosebumps. But maybe they'll have their own new experiences. Maybe they'll come in a different way. We don't know. I mean, every day is a new day. But we'll keep it positive before you guys play some music. There's a lot of young fans out there I know that are tuning in. What do they need to do so that you won't yell at them anymore?
And you know what? I
I'm just kidding.
No, I know. But I think this is a teachable moment because, again, when we came up, no one taught us anything. I wish we had the capabilities to go on our phones or computers and to hear a Ron Trent or Terry Hunter talk or Ron Hardy or Frankie Knuckles or Larry Heard or whoever. So my thing is, don't look at it as, and I know you're kidding, I'm not talking about you, but again, I've been criticized for some things that I've said, but it was meant to be positive, to make you look at it in a different way. You're just used to it being sugar-coated and handed it to you. So I just think, for me, what worked for me, and I think that's one thing that's never going to change, is study your craft. Know what came before you. Figure out what's coming that has not happened yet. And that's just, to me, that's study your craft. Because I tell people this all the time, and I'm not going to be long-winded on this because I know we got to get to the music, but because two records are the same tempo, don't mean they go together. Listen to your records, people. listen to your records. And that's what I feel like when I listen to a lot of DJs and you say you're a DJ, nah, because you playing something that's 115 and then you playing another record that's 115, that it just don't go together. But you don't listen to your music. What you do is beat matching. You're like, oh shit, that's the same tempo, so I know I can get out of that into this. Nah, sorry.
There are people with USB files that go by the BPM. I never understood that.
Absolutely.
I was like,
and you know what? I use that as a tool sometimes, but I'm knowing what the record is on and knowing what goes with that record. So, it's just one of those things is just listen to your music. There's people out here still hunting to this day. Like, shout out to my man, Dion Cole. He just really got into DJing, and he's been the only person besides the people that are established where I'm like, hey, bro, what was that? He's digging. He's finding records. He respects the culture. He's from Chicago. He comes up in the culture, so he knows. So shout out to him, because every week I listen to his show, I hear something that I did not know. And that's the other thing. You cannot be a DJ to think that you have everything.
Impossible.
It's impossible.
It's too fast.
It's always something that you're not going to have. You know what I mean? So it's one of those.
Want us to keep talking?
Oh, okay. Okay.
shout out to Mono's Best.
Shout out to my man, brand strategist extraordinaire, Mono's Best with the notes. But yeah,
with the handwriting. But and also about, and then we'll get to you, Ron, about production. There's a lot of people making music.
Yep.
What would you say to them during this time when we have nothing but downtime?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I know it's hard because for me, let's say in the beginning of March, I was literally on the expressway to the UK, to where I was turned around when this COVID thing happened. And everybody started streaming. And if people remember, it took me a while. It was to the point I was getting messages like, yo, when you gonna start streaming? When you gonna start streaming? And it just didn't feel right. So I know being in this time and place, it can really get to you mentally if that's what you do, or you don't, if you watch too much of the news and all the propaganda of the bullshit that they feeding you, and your mind could get away from music. And so I wanted to make a difference. And luckily, shout out to Mo, he helped me see that vision, and I was like, let's give back. And so that was my first entry into streaming, was we start giving back. And then after that, we did, the first one was we kind of tried to make more awareness for the Frankie Knuckles Foundation. Then the next one, we all got involved, and we finally, after so many years, got Ron Hardy his marker. And then we fed 200 seniors. And now we're doing this beautiful, beautiful thing that we're starting. Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes. Mayor Lightfoot. Shout out to her. But we're doing this Chicago House Music Fund, to where we want to give back to people that's in-house music that have businesses that are suffering, and to help bring some kind of assistance to them. So we're going to be talking about that more. But I would just say, study your craft. We all use plugins for the producers. Study the plugins. If you're not an engineer, hire an engineer. If you're not a musician, hire a proper musician, and do it right, because there's no reason. This is the thing. The technology is so there. There is no reason to make rookie mistakes right now. It's a layup for you. So just figure out what that does. Like Ron said early on, pulling fingers dropped him off an NPC and a keyboard. That is way easier than using a plug-in. You know what I mean? So there's no, and a lot of these young cats come up in this generation, so it's to be easy for them. So learn it. It's there. You got a question, go to YouTube. YouTube gonna give you the answer and show you how to do it. So.
Oh, you know what I would love? Man, that would be so great to have a master class with the two of you showing how you make a track. Can we talk about that one day? Fly Magazine will sponsor us.
It's come up a few times.
Yes.
Basically, I think the main thing that I think gets missed, because unfortunately some of the masters have passed on. But you got to realize that, and I really, I got involved in this culture because I loved it, because I was into music and that kind of thing. But the true source of what this is all about, if you really want to talk about like DJing, this kind of thing, is really, this is storytelling. That's what this comes
Yes.
from. Dave Macruso, his style that he developed that we now do off of today was about creating a theatrical situation, right? He would tell stories through different records, matching sentences, matching moods, and he didn't mix. You see what I'm saying? But he created momentum and energy through the sonics, through the records he was playing, and the way sound systems are today are really developed off of how he set up his sound system at the Loft, you know. But the thing is that he kept going as a consummate student, and that thing is what actually I think is missed nowadays with a lot of people, is that they don't study. It's a surface philosophy for a lot of people. You know, they can do this and they do it real quick and then it burns off. You know, it's a hobby, you know, and then it burns off and then they on to the next thing. This is a lifestyle and culture that has been developed, that we have developed a career and profession off of. We primarily, you know, are just trying to keep that tradition going and pass it on to the next generation. But they also have to be astute enough to do the work. If they're not willing to do the work,
Right.
then they don't really need to be here. And they can just be a spectator. Let the leaders lead and let the followers follow. It's called community, right? And we all need each other. You know, the dance floor is, and what we do, it's the DJ and the dancer. That's the communication. The DJ is nothing without the dancer.
Everyone wants to be the DJ
Right.
now.
You're going to have a fucking booth full of
DJs, right?
DJs.
That happens
And no
often.
fucking dance floor and shit.
Yeah.
I mean, now, we ain't got no choice.
Right.
But fuck. I mean, like,
Yeah. But even before this, you know, that was the thing. Everybody is a DJ. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's like I was saying before, guess what? I love basketball. I love football. But God damn it, I'm not finna go try for the NBA
Tomorrow.
and the NFL. Tomorrow. I'm just not gonna do it. That's no disrespect. And I know people might take this as, hey, you can do anything you want to do. You can. But all I'm saying is, yo, just be respectful of this art that we love so much. Don't disrespect it, because you're disrespecting it, doing and thinking what you're thinking, that you're just gonna pop in. But I get it, because technology makes people feel everything is so instant. It's so quick. It's so quick. You gotta come with, now you're bringing out a record. You gotta do a record every 2 weeks because it's here today, gone tomorrow. You know what I mean? So it's just, man, study your craft. That's the original point from both of us. Just study and get out here and do it. And shout out to all the DJs. All the DJs that's on here listening. We love you guys. Thank you for playing our music. Thank you for supporting us.
absolutely.
But at the end of the day,
Tell the truth.
man, that's
Just
it.
tell the truth. Just tell the truth. I mean, just
That's
tell the
it.
truth. I mean, just be one with the truth, and you know, represent. If you're going to represent something, I'll tell you what one of my godfathers said to me: if you're going to do it, do it.
Do it.
Period.
Don't
And then
half-ass.
Then we won't have this discussion. Just do
Absolutely.
it. You know, don't half-ass anything. Just if you're gonna get it, call yourself a DJ or whatever, then be that and be the best that you can be.
And be authentic.
And be
Be
And
you.
authentic.
be
that.
authentic.
Play your
Thank
position.
You, Serena. Yes.
You know, if you're a promoter, then just do that to the best. You know what I'm saying? Be creative
Absolutely.
all the time. You know, and do it. But everybody wants to be a hero, so it turns into all these
There
other
it
things.
is. There
You know,
it is.
so. But we still, you know, listen, we're all works in progress. We all have
Yes.
things we got to work on, and we're doing our best to, you know, maintain how we were taught,
Yes.
pass it on. And, you know, we all have, you know, this is one thing that we learn is being Babalaw's. You will not obtain all the information in your lifetime. You're a student from the cradle to the grave.
There it is.
You see what I'm saying? So
There it
therefore, I don't care if if you're 70, 80 years old, and you can have all the scriptures, or if we call them Odu, in your head. You know, chances are there's going to be some Odu and experiences that you don't know. And it's the same
Absolutely.
thing with all of this. Records are vast.
Yes.
You know, the dynamics of producing are vast. You know, we just lost Bruce Swedian.
Man.
I watched, you know, I read his book and watch his video. I just did it a couple of days ago. You know, I'm always going back and looking and seeing if
Absolutely.
there's something I missed. You got to do that.
Stay learning.
But this is where
Stay
innovation comes
learning.
too.
Let me tell you something.
You know?
I was watching a couple of weeks ago the Bee Gees
There you go.
documentary.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet on
got
HBO.
it?
Everybody that's watching this, do yourself. It's tons, loads
Amazon and HBO.
of. It's on
HBO.
HBO Max. Yes. Do yourself a favor. If you love this music, if you love this art form, just go watch that. I completely was inspired afterwards, and just that's what we mean by study.
Study the greats. You know what I mean? Like literally, the Quincy Jones documentary.
Oh my God, yes.
I mean, you look at that man's work and the people that he has influenced all the way down to us. You know what I mean? He's touched a lot of people by being into his craft, into his thing, and never getting off of what it is that he was supposed to do. He had a lot of, he failed a few times. He had brain aneurysm, all kinds of stuff. Lost money.
Absolutely.
But he kept going, right? And so now his life is a testimony. We can look at his life and say, okay, yeah, that template, wow, and it's an incredible inspiration for us. So that's why we continue to do what we're doing. I mean, because we got our own personal hardships and things we're going through too. I mean,
can I, I just thought of something real quick, but did you want to?
Yeah, well, one time, shout out to my brother. Incredible stream today dedicated to Frankie Knuckles. My brother David Morales is in the building in the stream. Y'all show him love. One of our legends.
What's up, David Morales?
I've learned so much from that brother. What up, D?
I got to tip my hat to him once. I do it every time I'm talking. Him and Frankie Knuckles are very responsible.
Absolutely.
For Alter States becoming a big record.
Absolutely.
All over the world. So always indebted to that brother. Never forget first meeting him at the Red Zone back in 1991. You know what I'm saying? So
I remember saying that. I seen him in the booth, right? That's right. Family for sure. First time I see David is the Red Zone, and he took his shirt off. I said, God damn it, man, you finna make me have to go back and work out. This finna be the standard. You can't be doing that shit. Put your shirt on, D. My body ain't like that. He keeping it sexy, man. Shout out to my brother, David Morales.
Shout out to David Morales. You brought up a good point, and I would want to ask you guys this too. Can you name each of you like one big flop, or not a flop, but just something that you thought might have worked and it didn't? I think sometimes, like when you talked about Quincy Jones, people sometimes want to hear the people who influenced them not always succeeding, because we fall so many times, right? Ron's like, I don't have anything.
Who?
Yeah, just man,
one big flop, huh? And you mean DJing wise experience or
anything,
production?
clearing the floor, a production, a party, or you choose just something that because we all make mistakes.
It's a great question. I'm just trying to think. So I'm gonna take. So here was a flop of mine, and it was more so out of. I never get nervous when I DJ now. Never. Like, and don't get it twisted. I have anxiety. Like every time we play at the Chosen Few, you know what I mean? It's like, yo, all right, I want to go, but it's not nervousness. And I remember this had to be maybe, this is 21. Maybe this was early 2000s. I was playing at the Ministry of Sound New Year's Eve. Pamela Anderson and Tommy, what's her then boyfriend from the drummer?
Tommy, not Hilfiger.
No,
Tommy.
no.
What was it?
Tommy something.
The drummer.
The drummer, yes. Whatever. They was an item, right? And I was playing, and we did the countdown, right? And the only other person that knows this is my brother that's in London, Warren Sharif. They came in the building, we did the countdown, and Pamela Anderson said, no, we're going to stay and hear Terry. And so immediately she starts jumping up and down, everybody screaming, and she was in the DJ booth. People are taking pictures. Whatever record I played, she's jumping up and down. And both her titties, above her, true story, there's pictures out there, came out. And I was like, Pam Anderson's tits is out, New Year's Eve, Ministry of Sound, and the damn record played out.
Oh,
so that was a flop. That was a flop.
But not really.
Yeah, that was a flop, because I felt like an asshole afterwards. I'm going to look up, it's got to be some pictures, Ministry of Sound, Pamela Anderson.
What year was this?
I can't remember. It had to be between 2000 2005, because we were still playing vinyl. So
The record played out during the countdown?
no,
Or just
me
during-
looking at her titties. No, that's a difference. Sorry, honey, but that's what happened.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lord.
So that was a flop. Record played out.
Shit, that
One of my
beats them
biggest
all.
ones.
I ain't got shit to say. Nothing to say.
You could take it a different direction, Ron. You could look at
I
flop
got
a different
nothing
way. I really don't know if that was a flop, though.
Yeah, that was a flop.
Literally a flop.
No, it was a flop.
Literally.
That was literally a flop. Yeah.
No, but for me, I don't know. I mean, I've always been experimenting with different things and events or whatever, and I try to work with different people. I can't really. I mean, only thing I can say or associate with being flops are just some of the people that I've worked with that I believed in some of their skill set, and it turned out to be, you know, either empty rooms or just like it's the plane that could just never get off the ground kind of thing. But
That's a nice way of putting it.
Absolutely.
you know what I'm saying? So, other than that, everything has been all for me a learning experience.
What was that again? The plane that what? Never gets off the ground.
Never could get off the ground.
Oh, I got so many people I want to say that too. Motherfucking plane never got off the ground with us, bro. Like,
Right.
That's the new term. But
you know.
this, it happens. But this plane will get off the ground because now it's time to hear some music.
yes. And before we go, shout out to everybody again that's in the chat rooms. Thank you guys. Like, this is something that we did this night, and this has never been done between me and Ron before. And as much history that we have together, you would think it would be loads of streams or news or records or whatever. So for me, this was an honor. I can't wait to watch this back, to be sitting here with my brother.
Right.
We did this for the culture, so you guys can learn. We did this for our brotherhood, and we did this for the people that love what we do. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for rocking with us.
Thank you.
Shout to all of my people, Team T's Box, Mirrorball, EMAC, Chosen Few, Wayne, Allen, Mike, and a shameless plug, which I'm finally happy to see this happening. I signed, and I kept it quiet, an album deal about 1.5 years ago with Ultra Records. Due to COVID and a lot of other things, it got shelved, and now we're putting this album out. First single coming soon. Shout out to Wayne Williams, Alan King, my team on doing that, and Alan making sure that contract was airtight, and Wayne putting the whole situation together. Imagine No Music album will be coming out this year.
Dope.
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna give a shout out to the people that came before us. Reason why we're
Absolutely.
here today is Martin Luther King's birthday,
Absolutely.
right? For his sacrifice, for Malcolm X's sacrifice, all the people's civil rights movement, our ancestors, that's whose shoulders we stand on, today. Our teachers, Frankie Knuckles, whose birthday is coming up.
That's right.
When Frankie's birthday is
It's tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Exactly.
Happy birthday, Frankie Knuckles.
without their talents, without their spirits and their energy, we wouldn't
Please
be
go
here
support the
to-
Frankie Knuckles Foundation too.
Absolutely. And all our teachers that have come before us that have allowed us to be here today.
Yes.
So big shout out to them. Shout out to our families. Everybody stay safe.
Please.
Cover your mouth. Be hyper vigilant, please.
Check. There we go. Did yours go out?
We want to see you into the years to come. Peace.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Terry, for sharing your knowledge. We
Ron
really
about to
appreciate
get
it.
set up. Yes. Yes, he about to get set up. So we about to get into some music. My brother Ron Trent, this is going to be a fantastic, fantastic night of information Q&A, which you guys just got, and we're going back and forth. Yes, please donate. Shout to Black Widow. Let's get in there. Can you guys please donate? Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. Please send in some donations. We got to pay these bills. We got to pay some bills in this beautiful club that we're in.
Well, you were going to talk about it later about the Chicago House
Yes,
Music
we're
Fund.
going to talk about that as well. But we're going to be going back and forth. Ron is starting the first hour. Then I'm coming up and playing an hour after him. Then he's going to get back on and play. Then I'm going to get back on and play. And then we're going to probably go record to record for the last hour. So we got
Ooh.
some back-to-back, never done. Terry Hunter, Ron Trent. We're going to have some fun. All of my Sanitize Your Soul people, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to the Nocturne. Make sure you pay attention to what's going on with Ron Trent and his music and power movement. We got some emojis that we got popped up. Let me see them emojis in the chat. But yeah, that's
Share
it.
the stream. Share the stream. Tell all your
Yes.
friends about it.
5 Magazine.
5chicago.com. Yes.
There you go. Make sure you find out what's going on at 5chicago.com. Zarina.
Terry.
And all those gigs you got coming up on the live streams, I guess, right? You're doing a bunch of streams, right?
No.
No? Okay. Well, then I'm going to have you as a guest on my next stream. How about that? Boom. There it is. How about that? Shout out to my brother, too. I got to give a shameless plug. I love this man so much. My brother, DJ Jazzy Jeff, his birthday. Let's give our heroes their flowers while they're here. He's doing a special stream. Next Saturday, I will be playing with a host of others. Also tomorrow night with
Rick
Julius
Alley
the
Soul,
Mad Thinker.
happy birthday.
Yes. Rick Alley Soul, my man. Happy birthday. And make sure you check out everything that Le Nocturne is doing. They have streams every day almost, right, Francois? Almost every day. So make sure you support. You guys follow on Twitch. Wherever there is music, we all over the place. Twitch, YouTube, Mixcloud. Follow Le Nocturne. And we're going to be doing this once a month, too. We got some stuff that we're doing special. So I don't think...
Did we forget anything?
Did we forget anything? Yeah. No? Oh, make sure you get that Sanitize Your Soul merch. TerryHunterMusic.com. TerryHunterMusic.com. Get your sanitize. Look, get this. This will be available. Get the Imagino Music shirt. Yeah. Yeah.
On is ready.
That's it. We waiting on you, Ron Trent. You ready, baby? Let's go, y'all.